Well, he's a guy who helped put mixed martial arts on the map. He's an Ultimate Fight Championship Hall of Famer and answers to the name the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, joining us this evening. Ken, good to have you in the house.
Well, hey, I appreciate you having me. Like I said, I came from here a few years back, man, and I just came back and I said, man, what? People are awesome here, and I really miss it not being around. So, but at least I'm up here having some fun, and we got some great things going on.
All right, Ken joining us from our Charlotte studios. For some of the old school MMA fans who may be watching our program, talk about those early days of MMA, your feud with Royce Gracie and Dan Severn, and the fights that put MMA on the map.
Yeah, I tell you, when it first came out, you know, people were a little bit, didn't understand what we were doing, especially when we said bare knuckle, no rules, no time limit, one man, two man enter, one man and walk out. So it's kind of back to the old gladiator days. But once we got it started and people started understanding what it is that we really were doing, it really became a sport or an event that people just fell in love with. I mean, there's so much technique involved as far as the ground and the stand-up. And the battles I had with Royce Gracie, I mean, that's really what really put the MMA on the map, was the battles that I had with Royce Gracie. And, you know, and then the other battles from then on, people just flowed to. And it became almost like this cult where, you know, it went off the air for a while, and then it kind of festered in the internet. And then when it came back on the actual TV again, it just blew up to this thing now that we have today, which is, you know, MMA at its finest, and it's some of the best athletes in the world. And also the military and other things have captured onto this too, because they understand that when it comes to self-defense or hand-to-hand or even fitness, that this is the best thing that you got going today. All
right, to your point about how the sport has evolved and exploded in popularity, but you referenced a time when its future was in doubt. The government had issues with it, thought it was a little too barbaric, and you decided to do the pro wrestling thing, going to work for Vince McMahon. Talk about that period of time and where your head was at, given what you were facing with the government and whether or not the sport was even going to make it.
Yeah, it was tough there for a while, because you had what we call the commission or the boxing commission, whatever hand you want to put it in, had seen the success that the MMA was having, and so there was a lot of regulations and things put on the sport in which we could not really participate, like big gloves and headgear, and all those things wouldn't work trying to fight on the ground. So it was struggling a lot, and then the pay-per-views started cutting us out, and there was just really no way of making a living. So at that point in time, I had to make a decision on what I could do to support my family. And, you know, first of all, number one is being able to take care of my family. And so I made a decision to go into pro wrestling. Great decision, met a lot of great people, and I was able to do the techniques that I had learned in MMA in pro wrestling, being able to use those techniques. And that's what you see today with wrestling. Before Ken Shamrock and after Ken Shamrock, wrestling has changed so much to where there's a lot of submission holds in there now, and a lot of ones that are actually very good, and they're using today more often than they did prior to when I was there. So the transition there was just awesome to see how you could take something real, I mean total real, and then integrate it into something that was more entertainment.
Well, most people would look at World Wrestling Entertainment as a way to give your body a break and extend your career, but you suffered some legit injuries, did you not, that may have actually shortened your career or at least made it a little tougher for you moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And when people say fake or this and that, wrestling is a very, very tough sport, and it's the travel and it's the amount of time you put on the road, and then there's the actual managing of your time, which is, I think, the most important thing about being a professional athlete in any sport, is being able to manage that time. And when you're traveling so much, you have to put time in the gym to stay fit. You have to make sure you're eating properly, and then you have to make sure you're resting. And then a lot of times that doesn't add up with the amount of time that you have during each day that you're trying to put together your professional career.
Well, when UFC started to explode again, a lot of that seemed to be fueled by your feud with Tito Ortiz. You still had the drawing power, but the injuries were taking a toll, and youth, as we all learn, eventually is served whether you like it or not.
And it does get served up too, and it's not dessert. It doesn't taste very well. But you have to, you know, it is what it is. You know, I went in and I fought Tito Ortiz when I first started when I was 38 years old. I had a long career, but UFC was struggling, and they needed a kick in the butt because they were getting ready to close the doors. And so I stepped in, I signed a contract with them to fight Ortiz and try and build up the ratings, just as I did in the very first one I was in with Hoist Gracie. And we did that. When I had the fights with Tito, we blew up the company, we got it to where it needed to be, and now you see it is where it is today. A lot of that had to do with a lot of people in there, and myself and Tito Ortiz putting together great interviews, great commentary, and then also stepping in the ring and putting on the fight.
Well, much like Vince McMahon has a monopoly on the pro wrestling business, Dana White and UFC are much the same with MMA, at least in the States. While you did good business with Dana White for several years, you two are not on the best of terms from what I understand these days. What aspect of the business and the way it's being run today is eating at you, bothering you perhaps?
The thing that bothers me the most, and I think it's pretty clear, that the athletes aren't getting what they should get, and it's not even get what they should get to a little bit, but it's a lot. They're not making the monies they need to be able to support their families. I mean, you're talking a guy going in there fighting on a pay-per-view event, and he's making $30,000 if he's lucky on some of the guys that are opening up the MMA pay-per-view events. And you're talking about a company that's making close to, you know, at least $10 million or $1 billion on some of these pay-per-views in between there, and then you got some of these athletes walking out with 15 to show and 15 to win. I mean, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. And then when you ask them to, when they're saying, well, no, 50% of our proceeds are going back to the fighters, and then when you're asked to, well, like, okay, well, let's, you know, show us some of the numbers. Well, no, because we're a private company and we don't have to do that. Well, if you've got nothing to hide, then why wouldn't you? I think it would almost make you feel a little bit better that people trust you. If nobody speaks up, some of these guys are going to get done with fighting and they're not going to have a house, a bed, they're not going to be able to put clothes on their kids' back, and they put everything into this to make a living, and they did well enough to make some money, but they're not getting it.
You have friends, I want to change the subject here with the time we have left. You have friends in the Charlotte area who have opened a new MMA facility and promotional company. Talk about what that is going to offer up-and-coming athletes who want a legitimate taste of the sport.
I want to give kids an opportunity like myself when I was in trouble. Someone turned around and really gave me an opportunity to make something of myself. I want to do the same for kids. And so that's something I've really focused on. And anytime with a friend of mine, John Savage, who I've known for a very long time, a good person, and had an opportunity to come up and help him start something that I think would help kids. Any kids, and also young adults who are trying to stay in shape, not necessarily fight, but just stay in shape, and be able to open a gym and be able to offer that to the community. I'm always a part of that. I'm always part of trying to make things better for different cities and counties, and for kids and for young adults.
Ken, there's this outrageous story out there that there's legit heat between you and your brother Frank, and that if you have one more pro fight left in you, it could be with him. Are you serious?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, if you knew the story on that, I think you would agree with trying to put a few holes in his head.
All right, we're going to table that and see what comes of it. Ken, we appreciate the visit. All the best to you. We look forward to catching up with you again sometime down the road.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you guys down there, man. Get a chance to come down and check it out. Try and support anything you can to help the community, but I think this is extra special because you're going to get a lot of kids involved and be able to give them something to do other than hang out on the streets, man. So God bless. Looking forward to seeing all of you.